There was a lot of activism at that point. Gene McCarthy's campaign was big then, and there was a lot of organizing around his campaign. I was not in the States. I was already back in Africa for the Democratic National Convention, which was part of what that was about. But there's a lot of support for Gene McCarthy on campus. There was a lot of, I think, at least tacit support for the Thursday vigils on Grand Avenue. We used to do a lot of organizing up in the assistant chaplain's office, which was great. We had I think my favorite on-campus demonstration was Walter Mondale was senator at that point, and his daughter was married to the college chaplain. She's got a building named after her someplace, I don't know.
His wife's,
Joan Mondale.
his wife's father was the college
His
chaplain.
wife's.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Yes, yeah. So Walter Mondale came to address the college Democrats, which I'd been a member of since, well, I'd been a Democrat since the Republicans nominated Barry Goldwater. And so, you know, we were ready for him, and Walter Mondale had not taken a position on the war. And Hubert Humphrey was way overboard supporting Johnson on the war at that point. He softened later, but that's where he was. So we welcomed Walter Mondale with signs, get off the fence, yada, 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 you know. But we were nice, upper class Macalester students, and when he got up to speak, we listened. And then when it was question time, we asked him a few pointed questions, but politely. And what was interesting was, not only did we get really good publicity in the Minneapolis Tribune the next day, but about 2 or 3 weeks later, he came out with a very public speech opposing the war. So I felt like that's the way it should be done. That's the way we're supposed to do it. A less successful demonstration was at the Applebaum supermarket just up Snelling.
I remember that.
We were passing out leaflets asking people to boycott Dow Chemical, which was making napalm, but mostly made their money in consumer products like Easy Off oven cleaner and stuff like that. And the manager called the cops on us. There were 3 of us that got arrested, 5 squatted cars and a paddy wagon, I remember. And we were in jail. But it was another conversation with Fred Kramer. I had a suspicion that we might get arrested before that happened. So I called him up the night before at his house. And I said, look, I know you've got a slush fund for bail for students, you know. I know you've got that. That's just part of the whole local
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, they did. Oh, yeah, they did. Because they wanted to avoid scandal, just like now, you know.
No idea. I was
Yeah,
there
yeah.
with you.
So I called him up and said, don't use it on me, okay? I want the students to kick in for my bail. And so he kept his word. He did not use the school slush fund for that. And the students bailed us out, and a very, at that point, well-known civil rights attorney, Doug Hall, was our lawyer at that point, American Civil Liberties Union guy. Yeah. We got off. They got tired of the demonstrations that followed.
It was a good experience. I was there.
Yeah, a lot of people were. Yeah, so it's a bonding experience. What can I say?
Well, I would like to just switch a little bit to the race relations. You mentioned the Knoxville program, which was a very important exchange program. And I have several friends who had very intimate relations and with people from that program, and said how it changed the quality of student life or the diversity on campus. But Selma was really, for me personally, a big turning point. I did not go, but several of my friends, as you know, and including Sandy Rickard, went. And I've already mentioned this, but this is a different venue. When the bus returned with about 10 Macalester students, we had a freedom rally at Macalester, which Chaplain Adams called McAdams, the best meeting in 25 years. And the short story of that was the dialogue that took place in that meeting with one of our class members from Mississippi, confronting one of our class members who'd gone to Alabama, saying, didn't you feel the love of the Southerners for the Negro? That was the word everybody used at that time. And another professor challenging that as a depraved love. But it was a very good dialogue, and in the end, our Southern friend from Mississippi, whose father ran a farm, and our other friend who'd gone on the bus, it wasn't you, Charlie, it was somebody else whom I can't identify, shook hands, and the person who'd confronted the state troopers and was talking about what was going on down there said, we need more people like our southern Mississippi state friend who was a white Southerner who was anti-segregation. They will help solve this problem more than we can. So it was, again, your kind of example, Charlie, of doing things via dialogue versus doing things violently. And I wrote in my journal that this is the way things will be solved with people like our Southern friend, and went on to be a diplomat where we solved lots of the world's problems by diplomacy, and a lot of them we didn't, and that's another story.